Okay, welcome everyone. As you all come in, we already have 14 people in the house. Okay, so as we all coming in, I'm gonna play this, okay, so that you can see what we've been up to. As you come in, please make sure you tell us where you're from, where you're joining us from. My name is Shoma Bajide Juroshola, Country Marketing Manager for ALX Nigeria. I'm gonna be going on live on Instagram as well. So if you see me keep looking at this side, I'm just only on Instagram. And then while you're coming in, mention in the chat window where you're joining us from, your name. If you're an active learner and a current learner, let us know what program you're on and rep your hub as well. And I would be playing this video. Enjoy. So we'll just give people like 2 or 3 minutes to join, okay? Hey. You cannot find us on Instagram, you're long.
Butterflies in my tummy when the money enter me, I like it. Getting rich and it's all in the plan, my mind made it to Forbes. I buy jama for my baby, motor you mommy, motorale. Soft living like a superstar. All I do is winning till no more loss. She might have me call. I feel like what's the rush? Can I waiting this up? Me not see no evil and I fear no one. I do the sign of the cross. For you the meet.
Make sure you call your friends for them to join us. We're live in the data conversations on the way. Tag your friends, let them to join us. Tell us your name, where you're joining us from. If you're a learner, let us know what program you're on as well.
Nobody take my joy. Better make way when you see your garaya.
Welcome Instagram family. I need to play my background.
Too much money, easy money.
Instagram guys, please come on, do me where the thing is happening. I can't really give you the effect. Come on, you have the link. The link is there. Join us. Our speaker is there waiting, and I'm going to hit a replay. Our speaker, my internet wants to show me.
What am I saying? Butterfly.
Hey, this internet will not disgrace me today. What's going on? Hey, let me not call any network. Okay. Maybe let's start again. Internet behave.
What am I saying? Butterflies in my tummy when the money enter me, I like it.
So wait for more
people rich and it's all in the plan, my mind made it to Forbes. I buy jama for my baby, motor you mommy, motorale.
Yeah.
Soft living.
I think we've played the video so far so much, and then it's just about to give up on us. Guys, don't be quiet. Tell us in the comment section where you're joining us from and all of that. Charles, I hope we have opened the chat window because I see people using
Me not see no evil and I fear no one. I do the sign of the cross. For you the meet be done. Since I'm on this same of God. I'm on a new level, Papa. I put it all on God. So when you see me smile, my brother, you for just show me love. Viviendo la vida loca. Nobody take my joy.
Okay, I heard I noticed the chat window is not open. We are working on it. Mr. Charles, please help us.
Too much money, easy money. Too much money, Them no believe in my come up. I run my city, I boss up. Check over me, pay, I no want to.
Okay. So we're done, and that's 5 minutes. Yeah, the chat, yes, guys, I know the chat window is not. If you have to come to Instagram to tell me that again, come on. Hey, Alex people, I hail. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. How you doing? I'm trying to speak to Charles. Charles, please, can you open the chat window so we can just know people that we're speaking to, please?
Yeah, it's open. It's open.
Okay, so Charles it's open to Instagram, guys. You can Go back to Zoom. The chat window is open now. Okay, guys. So now that the chat window is open, can we meet you? Tell us where you're joining us from, your name, the program you're on, and keep it. This is not answer and question and anything about your program. Please, it's just a conversation. So anything about, oh, how many times should I visit the hub and all of that, please, let's keep that for, the open house session. Chat away. So just tell us where you're joining us from, tell us the name of the program you're on and all of that. So today, I was just playing that video because I know that a number of us, whether you're an online learner or of course you're part of the hybrid learner, you might need to step out. You might need to leave the Zoom session and then join back, but you can actually chat now. You can use the chat window. I just sent a message on the chat window and I can see it. It's opened. Okay, so hi Zoom, hi Instagram. Hello everyone, my name is Seun Babajide Joshola, Country Marketing Manager for ALX Nigeria, and I have an army of team behind, and of course on the call as well. I have Charles, I have Kosi, I have Divine, I have Mayowa, I have Ruth, I have Victoria. There are plenty. So all of them were on that video that we're just showing to you. We'll play that video again, but if you really want to watch that video without my internet showing where I live or how my network is angry with the people on my street, go to our Instagram page, Instagram ALX Nigeria, and you can find us there, and then you can watch the video and enjoy and converse with us. Thank you very much you would have to leave the Zoom session and join again. The chat window is open. Charles, I don't know, some people say they can't see it. Guys, please, I beg, don't distract me. Sorry, if you can't see, sorry. I know I like to see people's messages anyway, so sorry, but we gotta move. Okay, because it's Saturday, right? So how are you all doing? I hope you're good. I hope you're well. Unfortunately, I think the next slide was supposed to be of this video. The next slide was supposed to be a check-in slide. Yes, where I would have wanted us to do a quick check-in and you can tell us where you are, but I've just actually removed that since it's in the chat window. Okay, yeah. Ademola Ojo just chatted in the chat window. So the chat window is working, guys. Please, Ademola Ojo, tell us your name, where you're joining us from, and the hub you're representing. Represent your hub, guys, and represent your program. We're going to have a competition next week whereby we're going to ask you to wear a particular color that represents your program. Let me go back. That represents your program, and we're going to ask you to take pictures of yourselves together, and it's just going to be fun. So look out for that. If you're new, you don't know what ALX is about, you just saw the flyer, somebody has been harassing you about ALX, you're like, let me just go and see what they're doing there. You're welcome. Hang in there, stay with us, and I'm sure you would be happy you've spent at least a good 45 minutes with us today. This is ALX Africa, but ALX Nigeria. ALX is in over 8 countries, which we'll get to in a minute. So let's do a quick run through of what exactly is ALX. Even for some of you that are our learners, you really don't even know what ALX is about, right? So ALX, a recent change is we became SAND. We're actually called SAND, S-A-N-D. So for those of you that might be getting emails from us in the nearest future, I thought it was very important for us to share this with you, right? So if you see anything that comes from okay, my internet is fluctuating on IG. I hope you can all hear me. Once you cannot hear me, Charles, please let me know. So we became SAND. So in case in the future, if you ever get an email from something at SAND Technology, it is us. Do not be afraid, okay? So we recently changed our names, and just to let you know exactly what ALX is not just one, we're not just one standalone. We're not just a Nigerian brand. We're actually a multinational. If we're allowed, we produce this, say so ourselves, right? So out of SAND, you have ALX, which is a SAND company, and that is what all of you and every one of you here are here for. You know more of ALX, and then that you know more of SAND. So SAND is our holding company, right? And under SAND, you have ALX, which is the Global Tech Training, and that is where you do all of this different fantastic program, and that is where you get to do all of our programs really at no cost, sponsored placement, okay? Because some of our partners and our #1 partners, MasterCard Foundation, has actually paid for you to complete your program with us, except the only change now. So for those of you that are active learners, guess what? There is now an admin fee that is required, right? Because for all of you that have never had to pay the cover, they've never had to pay anything, look, you're lucky. You're the good ones. You're the lucky guys, right? Because as from the 1st of August, there was a new change. Everyone that has to be on our program now has to pay we don't want to call it a commitment fee, but it's more of an admin fee. But we'll get to that in a minute. And you can always ask questions about that whenever you go to your hub on any of our subsequent questions. I'm only here to let you know that we're now called SAN Technology, and part of SAN is ALX, which is the global training platform, the global training side of business. And then we also have the room. The room is a massive, big community. I see Lekki people, I see Rhino, I see Egbeda, I see Allen Avenue. Shout out to you guys, well done. And, you know, congratulations on everything you're doing. So we have a community called The Room, and everyone at The Room, as long as they were successful, I need to emphasize on that, a successful learner that completes all of our programs successfully on time, not grudgingly, not, you know, missing, not failing, you actually get to become a member of The Room for free, again, without paying a penny. And as a member and as a fellow of The Room, guys, if you're a fellow in the room, I want you to comment in the comment section and let everyone actually know the benefits. The benefits are amazing. You get to have monthly fellowship meetings. You get to have one-on-one conversations with mentors. You get to have a lot of job readiness session. We're not just like any other organization that does a training and says, peace, bye, good luck if you get a job, if you don't. No. We actually want to equip you and make sure you're better ready for that next interview, for that next job, for that next promotion as well. And make sure you have all the job readiness ready. And that is all we do at The Room. We get you ready. We share job opportunities with you. A number of people have found their places and have found places we're going to be having a number of sessions soon anyway, just to put out there, where somebody has just recently completed their software engineering program and they've gotten a job as a fraud analyst in one of Nigeria's top organizations. Guys, it can only be from ALX, right? But unfortunately for us, we don't tune to those ons enough, and we actually need to. The other part of SAN is the SAN Technology does not concern any of us here because it's more of a B2B part of the business. So this is who we are. The nearest future, if you see, hi Innocent says, I am a proud member of The Room Fellowship. Thank you for that, Innocent. So guys, all you have to concern about is ALX and The Room, because we do fantastic. That's where magic happens. That is one of the reasons why I even applied and got this job, just so you know. So what is our mission? Our mission is the same, whether we try, whether you pay an admin fee or you don't, whether there is just a tiny little admin fee that we're asking, which is not even equals to the amount, to the, to the program fee at all, which is what MasterCard has already paid for, right? Our mission is still the same. We are here to transform Africa. We want to be able to position Africa on the map. When people are talking about India, when people are talking about, India, when people are talking about America, when people are talking about Kenya, we want to, in fact, Kenya is Africa as well, actually. So we want to be able to make sure that Africa is positioned as that IT place. Badass things, excuse my French, badass things come out of Africa from tech, technology, apps, founders, Paystack, Flutterwave, anybody, Innocent's app. Nafisat is doing data analytics. She comes out with our best app that is solving solution that help us to, I'm sure all of you have sent money mistakenly to another bank, another person, and you're wondering how come in 2023 there is no app or there is no technology that can just make you withdraw or go and collect your money back. No be so. So imagine that one of you is actually working on that. Akowaja, we see you. Wow, somebody's actually here from Akowaja. Akowaja people don't always come off our session, but okay, we're not angry. Okay. But the mission for ALX is to be able to transform Africa by developing 3 million African, ethical and entrepreneurs. So if you decide that you want to go and work in an organization, that is fine. If you decide that you want to be a tech founder, of course, why not? And if you decide that you want to be an entrepreneur are like people like your Mark Spencers, are the people that work in global organizations or multinationals and in tech organizations, and they are doing well. I mean, they're doing amazing things as well. Thank you very much for those of you that dropped off and still joined. You're still our family. You still have the ALX, you still have that small ALX DNA in you, so it's fine. You're still a family, but thanks very much for joining. Okay, so that is our mission, and our mission is not changing. Who are we? I've already said who we are in the previous slide already. Hi, Instagram, we're growing. Guys, keep sharing, keep telling your friends, tell them to join in, tell them not to miss out. We're talking data. Data is what we're talking about today. We're giving software engineer a break. Like, okay, software engineer, let's take a break. Now let's focus on data, right? So we're doing data today. So share with your friends, data science, even if they're not even into data, or they just want to launch into tech, it might help them. Even if you're not doing ALX, it's okay, no problem. We'll still share our knowledge with you, right? So what exactly are we? ALX, like I said, so you're only concerned with ALX and the room. And what we're doing is sorry if I'm speaking too fast. I'm trying to make sure, time. It's Saturday, and I'm sure a number of you just have your earpiece and you're busy eating at your Owambe and saying, may not be like, say we no join, right? So I need to make sure, I'm very fast. So we're here to make sure that we bring together a number of Africans who can join, who can get on the program, who can become top talents, who are ready to learn, to grow, and connect with one another. Because one thing you must never underestimate is this, right? The person that you meet at your hub, or that you are in peer review or peer grouping together, can be the next CEO tomorrow, can be the tech founder tomorrow. So this is an opportunity where you're networking with each other, you're working together, you're discovering each other, you're discovering talent, you're knowing what else somebody else is good at, so that in 2 years' time, or even in 2 months' time, when somebody's like, oh, I'm looking for a data analytics, you remember, Nofisat and myself did data analytics on was doing this analytics when we were on ALX. She's actually very good, Let me recommend her. Let me call her. Hi, Nofisat, are you here? Do you get? This is why we are here. This is what we are trying to do at ALX, bringing everyone together and making you to start creating your own yellow page. Did you see what I did there? Yellow page is a directory where everybody knows everybody, where you need something, you call that person, and you need to start creating that now. And also, we're, like I mentioned earlier, we're part of SAN Technology. We're part of SAN Group of companies, and we have over 15 years experience, burnout of education, going into training, going into a lot of things, and just making sure that every person that goes through ALX is better placed, is better ready, and is better equipped as well. So what are our new programs, right? This is just a 5 seconds video, and I hope it doesn't have a sound. So our new programs have launched: Software Engineering Plus, which is the 15 months, Data Analytics, AWS, I keep playing that, AWS Cloud Computing is back, and Data Analytics is back, and Salesforce Administrator. The only difference is there is an admin fee required. Yes, the admin fee, I saw a comment on Instagram and I was going to ignore it, but look, yes, there's an admin fee required, unfortunately, because there is so much that we have to do to keep learners in our program. And yes, it was okay not to charge an admin fee at when we had 2,000 learners across the 8 countries, right? It was okay, 5 people can do that work. But when you're going to be having over 30,000 learners, it's a lot of work, and people have to get paid. People have to be hired. A lot of segments, a lot of looking after, a lot of DMs. Oh, I can't access my Canva. Oh, where is this? Oh, and my grades. Yes, there's no more data science. Data science is not coming back for the rest of this year to next year, And I see a lot of numbers flying about. Please make sure nobody has been assessed, or I don't know, checked make sure it's not your BVN number, guys. Be careful out there, right? Be careful with this is the public forum. This link was shared online, so please be careful, okay? Don't just be throwing numbers here and there. Okay, so back, right? There is a process to all of these things. So I can understand, yes, oh, not a lot of people can pay for this, but a lot of people are using secondhand phones and secondhand Samsung. You can afford to buy these things. If it really means something to you, you would go for it. A lot of people are also jackbarring. To jackbar out of Nigeria is not cheap money. I would digress away from that. But if it really means something to you, we know that you would go for it. Unfortunately, that is just where we are as a business. If it changes, okay. But right now, that is where we are. So for those of you that are currently on the program, hang in there and make sure you make your marks, okay? All right. So to the next slide. Next slide, though. These are our new programs, right? You can read more. I'm not going to go too much on this. You can read more about our new programs on alxafrica.com. This is a change. The admin fee change is happening across all of the 8 countries that we have. It's a business decision, unfortunately, because we're getting more learners. We're needing more people to be able to service one learner. We get so much, there's this long and short. There's just so much admin work. It is not even your program fee. Do you understand? It's not your program fee. Your program fee, if you go on the website on alxafrica.com, you will see what the program fee is. And the program fee is already been covered. So what we're just asking for is to be able to commit and pay for the admin fee. And then you can read all of the FAQs, all of the questions that you have will be there. However, if you have more questions, whenever you see our open house session, please come in, ask your questions about that, and we're ready to answer. That is not why we're here today. Today we're here because, drum roll, I'm always so excited. I don't know why. But drum roll, guys, we're here today because we're meeting Mr. Ayo Oluyele. Oluyele. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. But
No, it's
Mr.
Leye,
Ayo.
Leye.
Oluyele, right? Okay. I'm your background. So I was wondering, it's not yet. Thank you, Mr. Oluyele. And he's an head of data and insights at ARM. Does anybody know ARM? Come on, guys, show some love to our speaker. You can find him on LinkedIn, but please don't bombard him. He would only answer you when he can answer you. Don't just approach with caution. Okay. So Mr. Ayo is a data professional with over a decade of experience in data, guys. Like before most of us even understood the word data or even understand that data is actually coined, he has been doing data. And of course, he's gained the experience from strategy to data science and more recently, data management. And he served as a consultant, guys. Whenever I miss consultants, right, I'm always true because consultants have had opportunity to stretch. So a consultant is someone that has done from start to finish. There are people that you can call like architects because they basically will draft out and build out a plan. They won't just say, oh, this is my path, or whatever happens. No, they will do from idealization. That's what it's called, right? True to strategy, true to execution, true to post of execution as well, to even, to evaluate, did it work? Did it not work? What can we have done better? How do we do better if we're expanding or repeating this in another place? Consultants are like the ish. So if you ever have an opportunity to start your career as a consultant, I would recommend, guys, I would recommend working in a startup for the first part of your career because it expands you. And also, if you ever have an opportunity to even become a consultant anywhere, please go for it, because what it will do is it would expand your mind and actually let you know how things work and how things go on. So currently, he holds the leadership in the ARM group. So please, if you have any pension or any clinical question and answer, that's not why we are here. Go to their customer services line and go and ask them. I'm already someone asking that, oh, is it ARM pension? Please. We're just here for data and his skills, right? And how it's going to impact us. But guess what? Mr. Ayo is an author. He wrote a book. Like, guys, I've been trying to write a book for the past 2 years. I even bought a mini iPad because I want to make sure I'm writing the book, but it's only God. It's only God that is helping us. So when I see people that have actually written a book, I'm like, all right, then kudos to you guys. Like, well done. So let's ARM has chopped my money. Please, that's not why we're here. We're not here for ARM customer services. We're here for serious business. If you need any issues for ARM, please go to their company website. He's not here as an ARM rep. Let me be very clear on that. He's here as a data expert with over a decade of experience. And he's here to make it clear, right? To make it clear why we need data, what we need data for, what has his career, what has his journey been about, what are the values that we can pick? Even me, I'm sure I would learn 1 or 2 things as well. What are the values that we can pick, that we can imbibe in as we go on, in our programs, even as we start looking for jobs? What are the things that we need to look out for? I just want to say, Mr. Ayo, I know my learners and I know my people, right? They're going to start coming and start asking you, are they still using Tabula? Do they see? I even know the technical things. Do they still use XYZ in Kinikon? They're going to definitely come to you with the technical questions. So, however, it's an honor, and I want to say thank you very much for cutting out some of your time on this beautiful Saturday in Lagos and making out time to hang out with ALX learners and ALX fellows and those that are just here to say, what exactly is this ALX even really about, Steph? Thank you very much for being here, and we appreciate you. So over to you. So do you want to give us a quick intro of yourself and, a bit of your background, how you started, how you got to where you are currently?
Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you very much, Shewan. Thank you to everyone from the ALX team. Okay, so I'm Ayodele Odule, and just like Shiwan said, I'm a data professional. I have over a decade of experience, but not everything is within the data space. I actually first started as a strategy consultant, and I did that for about 4 years. That was at PwC. And after doing that for about 4 years, I really just wanted to do something more hands-on, something computer related. Because even though when I was starting my career, I really wanted to do strategy and operational consulting, at some point, my expectations and reality were not matching. It just seemed like I was doing a lot of, PowerPoint presentation, research. And at some point, I really just got tired. So I wanted to go back to my first love, which was tech. Now, why did I call tech my first love after working 4 years in consulting? So tech is my first love because right from when I was very young, preteen / my teenage years, I'd been exposed to computers. So my dad always had computers. And so right from when I was like 10, I was already exposed to computers, Windows 95, Windows 98, then just playing around with his computer and just trying to figure things out. And then into my teenage years, he had got a computer for us. So I just used to play around. Then, it was mostly games anyways. But at some point, I started to pick up, 1 or 2 things about, computer software and all that. And by the time I was leaving secondary school, that was at around 16, he actually sent me to like a computer school, right, where I got to learn Microsoft Word, Excel, and CorelDRAW, right? So when I got into university, like a year or 2 after that, I actually started, to teach myself CorelDRAW and Photoshop. And all through my university years, for like 4 or 5 years, that was all I was doing. I was actually a graphic designer. So even though I was studying engineering, I didn't consider myself as an engineer. I considered myself as a graphic designer first before I was an engineer. So I was already very used to, working around with computers, teaching myself, how to play around with software and all that. Even though in this case, it wasn't programming, it was just graphic design, but I was very, very comfortable with computers. The switch into consulting came in my final year. I had a few friends here and there who were very, they used to read books and stuff. And I just had that flair for, okay, I think I want to do something slightly different from graphic design. And that was how I got into consulting. But 4 years in, I wasn't really feeling it anymore. So I said, you know what, let me go back to my first love, which is tech. Now, at that point, I just wanted to do something tech related. I didn't know what it was. I knew it wasn't going to be core programming, but I didn't know exactly what it was. And this was like 2016, right? This wasn't at the time when, UI, UX, data science, and all those things were all over the place. This was at the time when, things were still not that, a lot of these things were still very nascent, right? So, fortunately, what then happened was December 2016, I was still a strategy consultant, but fortunately, I got on a project for a particular organization, and that project was a strategy project. But fortunately, even though it was a strategy project, we also had another team within PwC then, which was called the data analytics team. Then I didn't really know much about what it was all about, but it was just interesting to know that there was that team. And so it was on that project I got exposed to data analytics. On that same project, at some point, because the project was overrunning, the data analytics guys had to move on. So it forced me to learn some of their tools. So it was as I was learning some of their tools, I was like, okay, this looks interesting. This looks good. I think this is something I want to do, right? And again, fortunately, there was that opportunity to actually join the team. And so middle of 2016, I actually joined the team. But before I joined the team, I took a course on Coursera. The course is actually still there. It's a PwC course on Excel, and you can check it out. So it's a specialization. So I took that course, and it was after I took that course, I was quite convinced that, you know what, I think this is what I really want to do. So 2017, I joined the team. Then I read this Harvard Business Review article that says data science is the 21st century most sexiest job. So that also got me, a lot interested in, okay, what's this thing all about? Now, mind you, when I got in, again, remember that I didn't get in wanting to do analytics. I just wanted to be closer to tech. So at the time, analytics was my way to at least get it. It was like me getting a foot in the door, right? At least getting out of where I was, of the whole research, PowerPoint and all that into something a lot more, hands-on and technical from a computer standpoint. So for me, analytics was my getaway. But obviously, as I started to, learn a whole lot more, as I started to work on various projects, I actually quickly realized that this was what I wanted to do. Right. And yeah, and that's how I got in. I think I'll stop here because of time, but that's how I got in, and that's how I started my analytics journey. So very late 2016/2017 is really when I transitioned. It's interesting to know that that's about 6 to 7 years now.
Almost.
It doesn't feel like it, but yeah.
Almost.
So that's how I actually transitioned. Yeah. So 6 of the 10 years is data. The others is strategy consulting. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me. Thank you very much.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. I think it's very interesting as well, because I believe that one of the questions that I've already seen in the question icon was, what did you study data analytics in school, in university? Like, how did you land there? So you sort of answered that already. So let me just tell that person now. Ajibala, I don't need to ask him that question already. He's already sort of answered it. He has said, yeah, he transitioned. He said that's not what he studied, and he just transitioned into tech. And it's nice to always hear people's journey, because I think it's very important. Look, you're never going to figure everything out immediately. I think that's one of the key things. You just need to stay aware of the trend and understand what your skill sets are, and know where it can be. Make sure you have transferable skill sets. I think that exists, right? Because it's when you don't have skill sets that are transferable, then you can't even transfer to tech, or you can't transfer anywhere. You're stuck, right? And I guess that's one of the things that also helped you as well, Ayo, correct?
Yeah, it is. It definitely is. It is. That transferable skill definitely
is very important.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Thanks for sharing. So the other thing I wanted to ask you, which I think you've sort of, I think you can still answer as well. So why data? Why did you, because you could have transitioned into, especially as a consultant and as someone that, develops strategy and all of that, you could have transitioned into, I don't know, quality assurance, which is under software engineering, clinical, or you could have transitioned into CRM, which could have been Salesforce or HubSpot or any of the CRM platform. Why data?
Okay, thank you. I mean, so based on my experience, right, to be honest, there was really nothing special about data, to be honest. It was just the low-hanging fruit at the time, right? I needed to be able to transition. I really wanted to move out of what I was doing at the time, and the opportunity that came was in data analytics, right? So for me, even when I got in, it was a case of, okay, let me see how this goes, and then I can probably explore, some other areas. One other option I had was to go into UI UX, because again, like I said, I was into graphic design for about 5 years in school, so I already had some good background in graphic design, right? So that would probably have been another option. But I think as I got into data, I just liked it, because first, so I think for me was, I always wanted to learn programming, but I didn't have enough good motivation to get me to do programming, because for me, programming always just looked quite complex and all that. But mixing it with data, made it a whole lot easier for me, because I always liked data. I studied industrial and production engineering. And in that course, I did a lot of statistics, I did mathematics, and I'd always liked mathematics, right? So for me, it was a case of, the best of both worlds. I'm going to be able to do, something that's quantitative, math driven, and I'm also going to be able to learn programming, right? And then I'm also still going to be able to, because if I take my consulting experience also, because with consulting, you're advising businesses, you're telling people to do this, you're making recommendations. And if you look at data too, right, you realize that you're not just analyzing data for analysis sake, you're analyzing it, but you're also making recommendations of it. So, looking at it, the data space kind of like brought everything I was interested in together. right? From programming, which was something I'd always wanted to do, to, you know, quantitative stuff, you know, to, you know, making recommendations to businesses and all that. So it was kind of like the perfect blend, you know, for me at the time. And that's why I just stuck with it. And it's been a wonderful experience ever
Thanks
since.
for sharing that. And I think it's also very important to maybe emphasize, or maybe from my own adjacent or extra, that data is king. You can hardly make any strategic decision without data.
Exactly. Yeah.
So whether you're in finance, whether you're in marketing, whether you're in HR, whether you're in admin, whether you're in front desk, whether you're the security, whether you are, I don't even know, whether you're in sales,
yeah,
you need data.
Yeah. So let me give some. Oh, okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
No. Go on. It's a conversation. Go on.
Okay. So let me also give some additional context. So you're very right. I mean, if you've followed the data space for a while, you'd have heard people call it different things. So you just said data is king. That's one thing. Some will say data is the new oil. Some will say data is the new fuel. Some will say data is the new currency. All sorts of things, right? And yes, even though some of it might be exaggerated, there's still some truth, right, and embedded in a lot of those statements, because what you realize is the organizations that are going to win in the future will be the data-driven organizations. If you look at everything that's happening today, a lot of the most valuable organizations are working heavily with data. If you look at Meta, if you look at Amazon, if you look at all the, yeah, exactly, all the major organizations, right, they're data driven. You know, there was a time I did some analysis around the most valued companies, right, globally, and yes, even though most of them were tech companies, I then saw Saudi Aramco, and I was asking myself, okay, this is oil and gas, right? These guys probably don't use data for anything, but I was surprised. By the time I went to their website, they actually had a dedicated, you know, place on their website where they were talking about their data initiatives and how data is driving the organization. And so what I've also realized is that, you know, the data space is one place you want to be, because see, every organization that's going to win in the future is going to be an organization that is using its data very well, right? Or that is harnessing its data and leveraging its data. That's just the truth, right? If you look at even the wave of the generative AI, ChatGPT and all that, all those things are feeding off of data, right? So you find out at the end of the day, you know, the person that controls the data narrative is the person that wins. Right. Absolutely. So yeah, I thought to add that. So obviously that's another reason why I'm in the space.
Absolutely. And again, like when I saw your title, when I saw your role initially, I was like, yeah, data and insight. I'm like, of course, because data gives you insight anyway.
Insights,
like
exactly.
You need to, and like you said, I like that last bit that you said, that, you know, if you're someone that already knows data, you definitely, the organization will need you. That's where they want to be, because data will let you know, should we go to Kafansha or should we go to Kaduna?
Exactly.
Should we stay in? So for those of you that are always asking about, oh, why are you not in other states? Data says, literally, it's data. Data says this is this. For, oh, why is this happening? You know, why? Data, there's a report that somebody has looked at and has been able to make a very sound judgment based on it. And that is why when people are collecting data, or when they're collecting, or when they're doing reports, when they're collecting numbers, the first thing they will ask is attention to detail. Because if you change that 0 to 5, like there's a ripple effect down the line, because somebody's going to look at that report or that data and make an informed and change people's life from it. So again, just, you know, if you ever find yourself in a job role where they're saying, no, just change it, it's just number, it's just change that 2 to 1. It is something, because it can be that small puzzle or that little drop of water that can make the old waters to start pouring that out of the buckets. So data is very important, and it's nice for you to be able to share it and put it more into context, even though I've been seeing a number of technical questions. But again, guys, transferable skills. Transferable skills. Look, you can, and I was saying this in a conversation to someone the other day, to say, you can know how to use, have you guys forgotten? One time we could only use a certain program and a certain dashboard. Nowadays with AI, a lot of tools are coming out every time. And if you're not up to date with those new tools, 1 minute we're in Twitter, next minute we're in X, 1 minute there was no trend, now next minute we're in thread. Your willingness to have transferable skills is very important. Don't start asking, oh, is Tabula, are they still using Tabula now? Are they still using Python now? Do you have the willingness to learn something else when something else comes out tomorrow? That should be your focus. And I don't like, let me not take the conversation away from you. But back to you again, Ariel. Can you also explain to, sorry, somebody just sent me something and I just got distracted. Okay, speaking on like data specializations, right? Because again, as an head of data and insight, speaking on data specialization, what are the trends that you see that is going to be, is going to be very, I don't think any of them, data is not going to outlive anybody. That's the truth. It's going to be here for a very long time, right? But what are the different specialization that whether you're doing data science, data analytics, what are the data specialization that you see that is evolving, or that are things that would always be in a traditional organization or traditional industry, or even in a new industry as well?
Okay. Thank you very much. So I was even also going through some of the questions in the chat, right? And I can see that some people were asking about, oh, there are so many buzzwords and all that, and just trying to understand the different specializations and all. So I would say that there's a lot going on in the data space, and it's evolving, constantly evolving. And because it's constantly evolving, what you find out is you just start seeing all sorts of terms, all sorts of roles coming up from time to time. And sometime last year, I had to even do a post where I wrote about, charting your data skills journey, because I found out that people were getting easily confused and carried away with certain things, right? So to answer the question, I would say there are like 4 roles that I will identify. The first is the data analyst. The second is the data scientist. The third is the data engineer, right? And the fourth is the data governance analyst. There's a fifth, which we'll probably start seeing more, which is the citizen analyst. And I'll just touch on, each one of them, and then I'll touch on, some of the trends that will probably impact some of all these. Okay, so the first is the data analyst. And what does the data analyst do? The data analyst really just analyzes data, and what he's basically trying to do is looking at a lot of the historical information, so what has happened in the past. And he's basically trying to answer questions, such as, oh, this is what has happened, this is the trend, this is how things are going, right, in the business. So that's one part of what the analyst does. But beyond just answering the question of what, the analyst can also answer the question of why, right? So why has it happened, right? So digging into the why, digging into those historical numbers to actually find out why, looking at the data from several lenses and from several perspectives, just to answer that question of those questions. So that's the data analyst. In some cases, or in some circles, the data analyst is also same thing as a business intelligence analyst. Again, remember I said there are different terms, that people just throw around, but there's also business intelligence analyst, which is technically the data analyst. Then you have the data scientist. So data scientist, in simple terms, while the data analyst is looking at, historical information and just trying to identify trends and why things have happened, the data scientist, to a large extent, is looking at that same data, but instead of focusing on the past, is trying to predict outcomes for the future, right? So for example, if a data scientist is looking at data of customers that have churned, he's not looking at it to answer the question of why have they churned per se. What he's trying to do is to say, okay, who else is likely to churn? How am I able to predict those who are likely to churn? Or how am I able to predict products that people are likely to buy, right? Or how am I able to forecast, right, into the future so that I can guide decision makers, right? So that's one of the primary differences. And their skills are also different. So you find out that most times the data analyst is using tools like Power BI, Tableau, Excel, SQL, and the likes. Sometimes Python, but it's not as necessary. But we found out that the data scientist, on the other hand, is using SQL, Python, right, primarily as his tools. And if you look at the skills also, right, the data scientist is more quant heavy. So he knows statistics a lot more. He knows mathematics, calculus, and some of all those other quantitative disciplines better than, you know, data analysts typically. You have people who can do both. I mean, you typically have people who can, right? In the Nigerian environment, I mean, it's always an added advantage because if you can actually do both. So that's for those two roles. The third role is data engineer. This guy is this is the powerhouse. So this is the person that, you know, gets all the data. So data always sits in different sources within an organization, several sources. You need one person that can go to those sources and pull the data out into a central place so that the data analyst and the data scientist can access that data. The person that does that is the data engineer. So it's working with several types of systems. Each system has its own type of structure, has its own type of, you know, nuance and its own complexity. And that guy is working, or that person is working, you know, with all those systems, you know, to extract that data out into a central place. That central place is mostly called the data warehouse, right? So that every other person can access the data. His skills, again, are totally different. Programming, core programming skills, Python, you know, and the likes, database management, and some of all those other things. Those are the skills that this person will have. Then you have the data governance analyst. This is not very common, but I believe it's something that is going to grow, right? Because with data is garbage in, garbage out, right? So what you find is that the analyst and the data scientist and even the engineer, they are limited by what they can do, right? If the data is not accurate. If the data is not accurate, it will be garbage in, garbage out, right? So the data governance analyst is the one who ensures that, you know, the processes that are in place for the data are right, to ensure that the data is reliable and accurate and the likes, right? Then the last role is called the citizen analyst. And the reason why I said this is a critical role is because we're going to be seeing more of it. And that's the general direction that the data space is going in. So the data space is moving from, you have a small analytics team or a small data science team that does all the work, to let's empower everybody you know, over the organization to be able to do data analytics and data science. That has always been the direction, right? And it's called self-service analytics. But obviously there have been lots of challenges from technology standpoint, but it's growing again, right? With the likes of, you know, ChatGPT and some of all these other things that are coming up. You know, you find out that a lot of the technology vendors are trying a lot to empower business users themselves, right? So who is a citizen analyst? A citizen analyst is someone who, for example, is an HR professional or a marketing professional. That's the person's core work, but the person then has data analytics skills and is able to apply those data analytics skills to their space. So imagine an HR professional who is chartered and all that, has all the certifications, but that person is able to use, you know, Power BI or Python to be able to analyze HR data. Same with marketing, able to analyze the marketing person is able to analyze marketing data, right? So we're seeing that a whole lot more, and it's something that is going to grow because that's the general direction, you know, that the industry is taking these days, where more and more people who are professionals in their field, they won't necessarily have to move into data analytics. They will remain professionals in the field, but they will be able to do data analytics. I think I'll stop there because of time. But if you're interested in, because I've written like a five series article, you can either check my Medium or you can check my LinkedIn. It's titled Charting Your Data Skills Journey. I pushed it out last year, so you can check. It has everything I've just talked about and breaks it down, and, you know, the tools and what you need to do. Yeah. All right. So hope I answered.
No, yes, you did. Yes, you did. Don't worry. By the time we're done, I'm even sure that your LinkedIn notification, you'd have been seeing a lot of reports. Because those that can spell your name correctly, those that can spell your name wrong, they are chat window correcting each other and going to look for you on LinkedIn. But thank you very much. I think it was very important for you to also mention the different areas of specialization. I really appreciated that. And then I was going to interject when you were explaining, but I thought, let me take my time. So I feel like the last one, the last specialization that you talked about is possibly as a result of GDPR, right? Because now that there is now GDPR, people are, of course, there has to be data governance. How did you get the data? Did you get it from the right source? Is it buy it off the black market? Okay, even if you bought it off the black market, how can we make it, into the good market, whatever it is? So that is why, of course, there has to be governance in most of these things. So I'm guessing that's
fantastic. Yes. So yes, the data governance analyst, you're very spot on. Yes. So beyond just the data being accurate, there's also the GDPR and NDPR perspective to things, which which is also making it more popular. You're very right.
Correct. Okay, it's nice to hear that, and I hope you all took notes. Again, like I said, my people are very technical. They're still asking Python. Are they still using Python? Are they still using, guys? People only stick first. Then we'll now come to all the technical areas of things. So thank you very much for sharing that. I mean, it's nice to be able to know that even when you finish, because most of the questions that I believe that I as a person would have asked is, okay, after my program, or after now that I'm done with this particular program, what are the kind of jobs that I can then go out and get? Those are the kind of conversations that I would have been that for me as a person would have been more intriguing. Like, okay, what jobs can I apply for? What roles can I apply for? What can I actually do with this qualification and all of that? And that is why I was able to break down the different areas of specialization. So one of the mistakes that most of us, or most of the people that I know do, is they will just go to the internet now and just type in roles for data analysts, roles for data scientists. Sometimes the roles are not written that way. They are written more in terms of your I don't know, should I say resultful way, or what you're about to do, what kind, like that's why I said data governance. I'm sure that none of you ever even thought about that. None of you even thought about GDP. Nobody has said any policy, anything policy. It is more about the tools. It is more, don't cast us. I know all of you now. It is more about the tools. You're not even asking like, okay, so what are the kind of roles? What are the kind of areas? What are the kind of specialization? Anyway, one of the questions that I asked anyway around the areas of specialization is, and that's something that I personally always ask, and I'm sure that a number of people would also, might have had those thoughts cross their mind. Business intelligence and data, are they the same? What is the difference? If can you share?
Okay. So business intelligence and data analyst.
Yes.
Sorry, business intelligence and data analytics. Is that it?
Yes.
Okay. So yes, I can share. So when the word data analytics is used, right? Again, it depends on who is speaking. But like I said, the data space is evolving, and sometimes there's no well-defined definition for certain things, right? But I'll do my best to define both, and I'll start with data analytics or data analysis. There's also data analysis. So, but let me start with data analytics. So data analytics really has to do with you analyzing data, obviously, to be able to get insights from it. And it's broken down into 4 areas. So there's descriptive analytics, right? Descriptive analytics is you're just looking into the past. What has happened in the past? What's the history? What's the trend? So for example, what was my sales? So if I'm maybe a retail company, what was my sales last year? What was my sales last month? What was my sales yesterday? That's descriptive analytics. What's the trend of that sales? Is it growing? Is it reducing? That's descriptive analytics, right? Then you have descriptive, then you have diagnostic analytics. Diagnostic analytics is where you're then asking the question why. So if your sales has been dropping over the last 6 months, one of the questions you want to ask is why, right? And why are you asking why? You're asking why because you want to be able to know what to do next, right? You want to be able to know. So for example, if it's that certain stores are not profitable, you want to be sure if you need to, shut those stores down, or if you need to do certain things in certain areas and all that, right? So you would ask the question why, and diagnostic analytics helps you to do that. The third area is predictive analytics, right? Where you're then trying to predict the future. This is where there is an overlap with data science, right? So predictive analytics / there's also prescriptive. Predictive is you're predicting the future. Prescriptive is more around you doing a lot of forecasting and painting different scenarios, right? And looking for the best scenario that would optimize your outcomes, right? And those last two, predictive and prescriptive, is really where data science sits, right? Now, the first two, which is descriptive and diagnostic, is where business intelligence sits. So business intelligence is really around, I'm looking at my historical data. I want to answer the question what, or I want to answer the question why, right? So that's the difference, right? In some other circles, prescriptive and predictive analytics are also called advanced analytics. Again, like I said, it's a the space just has a lot of terms and yeah. So, but I've tried to break it down. So I've helped you link data analytics to business intelligence, to data science, and to advanced analytics.
Okay,
Right.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you.
All right.
Okay, so again, because of time, because I'm mindful, I already have like 38 questions in Q&A.
Wow.
Sure that, yeah.
Okay.
I'm not even looking at the chat window. So if you're putting question in the chat window, I've written that severally. It is not going to be acknowledged, trust me, because even these 38 questions that we're going to be going through, I'm not even sure how we're going to get through it, but I know somehow we will get through it, right? Because we're already like out of time. 2 questions that I have, then I'll stop answering. I mean, based on, our speaking topic, and then, we'll just go on to the questions that everyone is asking in the question and answer thing is, what are I want you to be able to explain, if you can, I want you to say, what are the technical tools that you use every day? So, but
Okay.
I want you to be able to say it in a more storytelling way. Like, if you can walk us through your typical day as a data professional. I know you're head of data, so of course, you might not necessarily not too much basic stuff, because it has to be top stuff, but walk us through your day as a data professional from a technical aspect and to the non-technical aspects, because I think for the audience that we have as well, it's very important for them to understand how much percentage of technical aspects is even required on the job. Because I always assume, based on the feedback that I get in a number of sessions that we've had, is that our learners just assume that once I can use Tabula, I'm good, I'm a star, more as in I'm just a superstar, just leave me, I'm blazing hot. Or once I can do, even as a data scientist, once I can do that, once I can do the coding, hey, anywhere I go, it's way more than that. And I think it's always very important, and that's why I always try to ask a lot of our speakers and our experts to say, walk us through your day from the technical aspect to the non-technical aspect, so that even the audience can understand that, oh, you know what? It's only maybe a certain percentage or a certain period of time that the technical aspect actually comes in handy. Most of the time, the non-technical aspect is even where the business really, really needs you to function. So over to you. Walk us through your typical day from, the technical aspect to the non-technical.
Okay. So let me just touch on my role very briefly, then I'll talk about. So the higher you go in the data space, the less it is about your technical skills, and the more it's about your management and communication skills, right?
Are you hearing? Management and communication skills. Is anybody taking notes?
So the more you grow, except you're in certain kind of organizations where you typically will have different tracks, where you have maybe a technical track and you have a management track. But for most organizations, to be honest, the higher you go, the more it's about management, right? It's about your communication, how you're able to manage stakeholders, how you're able to persuade stakeholders, how you're able to communicate timelines, how you're able to communicate the value of what you're doing. Because a lot of times on LinkedIn, I see people just, on Twitter, I see people, they just draw one dashboard and put it out there, and they're saying, oh, they're learning data analytics, and it's good. But, at some point, you need to then be able to tie that dashboard or whatever you've done or that machine learning model to the value it's bringing to the business. right? So let me just put that, out there first, right? So the higher you go, the more it's about those things, the more it's about how you can manage a team, the more it's about how you can, think about retaining your team and, training people and, all that. So that's by the side. Now, obviously, in your earlier days, right? Yes, you need to have technical skills. That's very important. So you need to be able to use whatever tools that your area. So if it's data analysis, if it's data science, data engineering, definitely you need to be, you need to be able to use the tools that you need that are required for your job. And I won't start going into all those tools so that I don't waste time. Like I said, you can check that article I talked about. So, but what will also stand you out is the soft skills at the end of the day, because if you have two people that are very good, extremely good, what will stand out one from the other is the technical skills. So your ability to be able to communicate, your ability to be able to ask the right questions. So if you look at the day of a data analyst, data scientist, or data engineer, for example, one of the things you'll be doing is requirements gathering. And what's requirements gathering? Requirements gathering is the business has a problem, and the business stakeholder or the process owner who has that problem is saying, okay, I need you to be able to help me solve this problem. And so one of the things you need to be able to do is to have conversations with that type of person to even understand what the problem is, understand the requirements, right? And then think through what the solution could be from a data standpoint. Requirements gathering is not necessarily a technical skill, right? It's something that, you have to develop. And in the process of requirement gathering, you need to be able to ask the right questions, all right? And that's where soft skills come in. You need to be able to listen, active listening. You need to be able to communicate, ask the right questions. Now, that's the first thing. The second thing you want to be able to do is then, obviously, design and prototyping, right? So now that you've spoken to the person, you know what you want to do, coming up with a design and prototype, again, that's where your technical skills will definitely come in. So you want to, have something like that. Soft skills come in again when, you need to negotiate timelines. Sometimes people will say they need this thing today, right? You need to also be able to communicate and persuade the person, right? Negotiate timelines to say, oh, this is why this won't be ready so time. And, explain, some of what you're doing in the non-technical ways to the stakeholders so that they understand, what is required and all that, right? And obviously after that, you're then building the solution proper. So you're writing your scripts. In some cases, if you're a data analyst, you are, before you write your scripts, part of the design is you're identifying the data. You're going to find out where the data sits. Sometimes you're talking to IT, or you're talking to people that know where that data sits. You're talking to your data engineer to say, please, I need this data to be, dropped in this particular place or to be made available for me. And then once you're done and you have access to the data, obviously you can start building. Then when you're done building, communication, storytelling, and the likes come into the picture again. See, you can do a fantastic job, a fantastic dashboard, but if you are not able to tell a story, if you are not able to communicate, it's almost going to be as if you've done nonsense. So it's very important because, and that's why you must invest into soft skills, because I can tell you that I've seen cases where some people don't even know much, but because they're able to, sell, they're able to tell stories, they're able to bamboozle everybody, you find out that they get the attention. And the other person who is, might be very technical, might not be getting as much attention, right? And the funny thing is, we're all humans, right? You find out that business stakeholders, they don't know much about what you're doing. They don't know the complexity of the work that is required. So you find out that a lot of times they might even start to say the guy who is not as technical is better than the guy who is very technical, just because of what they can see and the communication that comes across, right? So it's very, very important. I think one other thing that you need to learn would be, and that's very important, is what is the value of what I'm doing? You need to be able to learn to connect what you're doing to value for the business, right? So how is what you're doing going to impact, say, the revenue? How's what you're doing going to impact, reduce the cost? How's what you're doing going to, move the business forward. Because at the end of the day, that's important. That's what will make people appreciate what you're doing, beyond just building a dashboard and, making things look fine and pretty. Yeah, so I'll stop there. I hope I answered the question, Sharon.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. And like I said, I know. So when I opened up the Q&A, right? And that is most of the questions. They're all asking, what technical skills should I have? What technical this should I know that, because again, maybe it's because, of course, as learners, they're more, we're more inclined to look for the technical. Can I use this tool? Can I use that tool? So yes, you answered the question beautifully, because I was just replying to someone that was asking to say, oh, is AI, what's the future of data analytics with the rise of AI and all these different tools? And I was never going to ask you that, because I believe you have answered that over and over and over.
But let me also touch on, if you don't mind, let me also touch on the technical side, because it won't be a complete conversation.
Yes.
If I don't touch on that. So I mean, because obviously when we're recruiting, or when I'm recruiting, that's something I look at, right? Obviously, I look at the technical skills. I think that one of the things that is very critical to note is, and I captured that in the article also, is that if you are aiming for the Nigerian market, there's a particular way you need to think. And if you are aiming for the foreign market, there's a different way you need to think, especially when it comes to the tools. So the Nigerian market is very Microsoft dominated to a large extent. So what you find out is that you hear people talk about Power BI a lot. You hear people talk about SQL Server and a lot of Microsoft tools. That's not necessarily the case globally. Globally, you hear people talk more about maybe Tableau or some other tools that you've probably not heard of, right? So if you're targeting the Nigerian market, it's important that you focus on, you can, for technical skills, you can focus on Microsoft tools, and you most likely will largely be fine, to be honest, right? Because that way you'll be spreading your tent really wide. Now, Nigerian market is also split into two. There's the enterprise and there's the startup. If you're aiming for startups, you might not necessarily focus on Microsoft tools. You can start to use Tableau and all other types of tools, right? It all depends, because startups are very flexible, right? But if you're aiming for like enterprises, middle to large enterprises, say banks, financial services, retail, energy, oil and gas, then you probably want to focus on the Microsoft tools, because they're largely using Microsoft tools. So I'll say that's also another way you want to think about it. The international market is a bit more, you probably want to do your research. Like I said, there are different things. So for example, while in Nigeria, you see Azure a lot, right? But in the international market is more AWS, right? So, and Azure is Microsoft Cloud, AWS is Amazon, right? So there are also those types of things you want to keep in mind. And very, very importantly, if you're ever going through courses, and learning, beyond just going through the course, find projects to work on. Because at the end of the day, anybody can go through a course, but what would attract the person, right, to your CVs to see that, oh, this person has done XYZ project, ABC project, right? And that gives the person a sense of, okay, you're probably able to do the work. All right, so I thought to just add that. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. So let me summarize that again for everyone else. So Mr. Ayo gave an example to say, depending on the market that you're in. So for those of you that may be planning to jackpot, or those of you that's planning to stay behind, the Nigerian market is shared the well-known and well-used tools and platforms that are usually required, right? And of course, the westernized market outside of Nigeria is shared that as well. So again, when you're applying for a job in Nigeria and you're very good at Tableau, you might not be able to get a job in a Nigerian bank or a Nigerian industry, because that is probably not what they're using. But then again, if you now decide that you want to apply for a job outside of Nigeria, or maybe even a remote organization while you're living in your house in Agege, like myself here, then it means that you have to be conversant with both. Or if you want now decide that you want to become a freelancer and you want to be able to do, cater to this person, cater to people in their abroad, cater to people that are giving you Naira as well, then it means that you have to have that technical skills across both different tools and platforms. Did I recap well, right, Ayo?
Yes, to a large extent, yes.
Yes, okay. All right. So because of our time, I've tried as much as I can to answer a couple of questions. And I'm repeating that word because I know, listening to what Aria has been saying so far for the past 45, 50 minutes, there are a number of things that he has answered there. I mean, I have questions like, how do I build my career in data analytics or data science? What does it take? Is there anything you can use in answering that, or should we just ask them to read your article? Actually, somebody asked before you answer that, 1 second.
Okay.
Somebody asking on Instagram that what is your name on Medium? Is it just how your name is?
I think it should be Aya Dillon. Let me check. Just a second, sorry. I can drop the link to the article, by the way.
Yes, please. Okay, you know what you do for me? Please email it to me as well so that I can actually
okay.
Up on Instagram. So if you want to read any of his article, I'm going to put it up on our Instagram page few minutes, because before all of you just rush to Instagram and say, where is it? Few minutes or maybe an hour after this session, I'll put it up on Instagram. I'll put up his LinkedIn profile. But again, please, guys, he works, he has a job, and I'm sure he has a life as well, right? So don't expect that you send him a message now, he should be answering you immediately. He's human. So just let's respect the spaces of our speakers as well. But I'll put up his LinkedIn profile and I'll put up the link to his articles and his Medium on Instagram. It would be on Instagram. Okay. So a question that somebody asked was, please, can you talk more about the soft skills that he has answered that, Wura. Wura, he has answered that already. He answered that clearly. Okay, so I was asking about a question that I saw. Guys, I'm only going to ask him questions up to 16:15. So however he decides to answer it very quickly and sharply in the next 3 minutes, it's up to him, but it will actually stop talking once it's 15:4. Okay, so one of the questions that someone was asking, which I think a number of people of them are asking, is how do they start? So once they get that qualification as becoming a data analytics person or data analysis person, sorry guys, or a data scientist, how should they start? What is the next step? What are the kind of careers they can launch themselves in? I know you're not a career expert, but if you just have any guidance or tips, it would be helpful.
Okay. So I think that once you, for example, gone through like an ALX program, right? One of the things you can start to do very quickly is to see how you can apply the skills based on the area, obviously. So you can look for projects. One thing I find people doing these days that, I mean, it gives you some form of visibility, right? Is you create, and I'll speak to the data analysis side of things, because that's the one I see a lot, right, on LinkedIn, right? So you have people who work with a data set and they create something out of that data set. They create a project and they post it out there. And they put it out there, right? And what I found is there are quite a number of people that when they put it out, you never really know, because someone is looking, a hiring manager is looking. Actually look out for those kind of things, because first it tells me that, yes, you've learned, but it also tells me that you are applying what you've learned. So I think that's also very important. So you'd start to immediately look for how you can apply what you've learned. Look for data sets online. You know, it can be something you're even passionate about. For example, it might be that you're passionate about music. You can look for data related to music, or look for data related to any other area that you might be passionate about. It could be football, it could be anything, right? And you start to build. You can also start to apply for internships, but like I typically like to say, it's never really enough to have just certifications, right? You need to show that you've applied the skills somehow, and that's why I'm advising that you have some form of project, right, that you're actually working on part-time. I think that's it. And obviously, as much as possible, look for, apply to as many places as you can. It's never really going to be that easy. The good thing these days is that the space is opening up really, really fast, right? And a lot of companies these days, because of the Jackpot wave, are willing to, take people that might not have as much experience as they would have expected. I mean, so a lot of companies are getting a lot more flexible, unlike when everybody was just looking for, you must be experienced, right? These days, people are, a lot more flexible to say, okay, if at least you've been trained and you've done one or two things yourself, maybe we can take you in, that type of thing, right? So I think these are actually good times. So you can actually apply, apply, And I mean, put your best foot forward for all your interviews and all that. Yeah. So that's it.
Thank you very much. I know I promised 15 minutes, but please, can I just stretch? I'm going to
No, it's fine. It's fine.
combine all
It's
of
fine.
this. I mean, it's the same question, but they were asked in different ways. Yes. So it's basically to say, so somebody asked this question, then I would put that additional. What kind of roles or job can someone with a background in, of course, I'm believing that background is a degree, someone with a background or degree in political science, and now with a completed training or a certification with data analytics, what kind of role can they get? Leading on from that same question, someone now asks that since you're also a recruiter, of course, as an ed, what are the roles that you think are more important in your team?
Fantastic. I like that second question. For the first one, to be honest, there are no limitations. We live in a world where people don't really care what you studied anymore, right? So I think it's really up to you what you can make out of your certification. So put yourself into it, give it your best shot, and just choose what you want to do. If it's data engineering, if it's that you want to be a data engineer, if it's that you want to be a data analyst or data scientist, just choose something, put your all into it, learn about it, learn, build projects around it and apply, right? Most times as a hiring manager, I'm not really, except in maybe very few cases, but I'm not really very concerned about, oh, you studied this, you studied that. If I can see that you have a good track record of things you've done, it really won't matter much, to be honest. For the second question, I think that the role that probably has the highest, what's the word? The highest demand at the moment is the data analyst role. And I'll tell you why that is the reason. The reason for that is that a lot of organizations want to start their data journey. And most times when they're starting their data journey, they're starting with descriptive analytics and diagnostic analytics. I'd explained that earlier, right? They want to even know what is going on in the business, and they want to know why whatever is going on is going on. So a lot of organizations will start from that point. And what you find out is every organization has several data sets that you can use for that particular use case. So you find out that there's usually a huge opening for data analysts, right? For data science, it might not be as much. And the reason I say that is sometimes not every industry has many data science use cases, right? You find out that a lot of data science use cases you can see online. It's either around the retail industry, the banking industry, financial services, and the likes. In certain other types of industries, you might not see as much, right? And that's why, so data science is fantastic, but you find out that you might not have as many openings. Also, if an organization is building a data team at the start, they might not hire a data scientist immediately, but they most likely will hire a data analyst. They most likely also hire a data engineer. So the thing about data engineering, it's a critical role that you want to start with from day one. However, it's a role that most times is usually lean in the sense that while you might have 5 analysts, you might only just have 1 data engineer within that organization, or you might have 10 analysts and 2 or 3 data engineers, right? So so I'll say data analyst is like the role where you have a lot of, well, again, especially in Nigeria, right, where the data maturity of a lot of organizations is not that high. So that's the case. In more developed environments, I mean, you probably will have a lot more data science openings than you typically expect, right? So yeah, so I hope that answers your question.
Yes, I hope that answered the question of the person who asked it as well anyway. So that was good. Because of the sake of time, I see that most of the questions are becoming very technical and is getting into like a career coach kind of question. They want you to tell them what the career paths for a data scientist, and they want you to also tell them what the career path for a data analytics person is. I'm like, guys, this is not a career coach session. Yes, you can of course guide us, but that's not the purpose for this. This is not that session for career conversations, like what is the next step. So a data analytics stays there for 2 years or 1 year and moves on to be, it's not this session. We can always have that session later and all of that. But one of the things that I would also just like you to touch on as we wrap up, because we're done.
Okay.
We're done. like done, is what are the, I mean, and I think you again explained it. I was going to ask a question based on something that I saw, but I think you've also explained it as well, because someone was asking, oh, what are the most required tools to be used as a data analytics person? But Ayo has mentioned it, depending on in the country, the region, the industry that you work with, depending on the tools they are using. So it can't just be, I mean, Ayo, I'm right? You can't just say, oh, it is Power BI. And then one of the financial companies that you go and apply to, that's not what they are using. They're not like, that man, he's told us that it was Power BI they're using now. No, that's not the way it works. It depends on the organization you are going to be working with. It depends on the region, on the part of the world you're going to be working with. So it's very important as well that where you yourself, you're applying for jobs and applying for roles, write down what your own skill sets are, and then check if they always write it. They will say, make sure you can use. And if you see that the country or the part of the world that you are interested to apply jobs for, you don't have that skill set, then make sure you equip yourself to be better qualified for those roles as well. We can't, it's impossible, especially in 2023, and I am sure you can agree with me. You can never tell someone, oh, it is only Slack we're going to be using, because next week now, something else will come out.
Exactly.
And then all the organizations will move. So you cannot say, but we were told 2 weeks ago that it's Slack that everybody's, that's not the way it works nowadays. Organizations move according to the tools, 1, that they can afford, 2, that is reachable, 3, that they can get best optimization and productivity from. So it's never going to be a cast in stone, like, oh, this is it and that is it. No. So that is why if you joined us at the beginning, the first thing that we talked about was transferable skills and your willingness to learn. I'll give an example of myself, actually, Ayo, if you permit me, and then we'll definitely.
No, it's fine.
I worked in Microsoft. When you were talking about that Microsoft thing, I worked in Microsoft for 8 years, right? So the only tools that I ever could use was, of course, Microsoft tools. I did not know anything outside of that. All the Slack, Asana, they were alien to me. I didn't know what you're talking about, because we had SharePoint, we had Microsoft projects, we had Power BI, we had SQL, we had Azure. I can't remember last time I even pronounced Azure, because we don't use that in the organization that I now work for, which is ALX Africa. Right? So it has to be, so imagine someone that has worked with a particular tool from morning to night for 8 years. You have to have the willingness to change and the willingness to learn, and transferable skills as well as the technical skills, because yes, of course, what I know how to do on Excel is what we're using on Google Sheets as well. It's almost the same thing, right? But of course, functionality is different. So you have to make sure that your transferable skills as well is top notch, so that wherever you find yourself, in the next position, in the next role, in the internship role, in the apprentice role, in any role, you are willing to learn. You are willing to apply yourself. You're not willing to say, no. I only know how to use Android. It's only Android dashboard I can build. I can't build anything else. You have to be very adaptable. And on that note, any last notes for my learners? And I mean, at some point, we had 402 people on this Zoom call, just so you know, you're very popular. So I'm expecting at least for you to have at least 10 or 15% of those people on your LinkedIn in a bit. But while we wrap up the call, I just wanted to find out, do you have any last words, anything that you just want to leave my learners with? There are plenty of questions and eagerness, and they cannot wait. I know most of our learners cannot wait just to finish this program and just start working and just start earning dollars. So what is it like? Leave us with some things. That what advice would you give them to stay on and all of that, and then we can wrap up.
Okay, so I think that so a couple of things. So it's a marathon, not a sprint. So pace yourself. I'll say celebrate your milestones. So for example, you finished the first ALX course, celebrate it. You finished the whole ALX program, so like, you know, so don't constantly put yourself down, right? Just don't yes, there's a lot to learn and there's a lot to do within the data space, and it's constantly evolving, but celebrate your milestones and celebrate your progress. That's very important. Make sure you're practicing. I mean, like I like to say, practice like crazy. So just keep practicing, keep working on projects, keep building up yourself. Join a community. When Sean was talking about the room, I was quite very impressed, because one of the things that shaped my journey was the fact that even though at the time when I started analytics, it was still quite nascent in Nigeria, late 2016, early 2017. By late 2017, we had the likes of Data Science Nigeria come up, and that helped, someone like me a whole lot, right? So I'll say communities are very important. So ALX Room, fantastic. It's a place. So the thing about communities is you get to learn from each other. You get to, you get to work as a team. You don't get to repeat certain mistakes that, certain other people have made, right? Because you're going to learn, from people that have gone ahead. So I think it's that community thing. It's a very big part of your progress. And it's extremely very important, because you never can do it alone, right? So make sure you're part of a community. And I think that's it. Just ensure you're always evolving and always learning. And like I said, pace yourself. It's a marathon. It's not this. Yeah.
Not as great. And on that note, I want to say thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for your patience. Thanks to everyone.
Thank you.
I'm going back to that video. That's what I was doing on my slide. Sorry, guys. And thank you very much for your time as well. Thank you very much, everyone, for engaging. If you can't find the speaker, his name is Ayodele. You're missing out the Dele at the end. But guys, don't worry. Just come to Instagram. I'm going to put, not now, as you can see, I put makeup on my face. I'm going out. So please, what's it called? Just put, I'll go to Instagram. I would put up his Medium link for his articles, as well as his LinkedIn page as well. So just go on Instagram, ALX Nigeria, and then you'll find us as well. Benga, yes, you can come now. So I want to say thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing. We appreciate you so much and your time. And everybody, there were like 300 or 400 of us. I look forward to seeing a number of tags of Mr. Ayodele on LinkedIn, talking about the session, talking about what you learned, the 2 things you learned. I'll be watching out, and I would surprise the 2 people that I see, and on LinkedIn especially, and we'll reach out. Those that have won something from us, you know how we always do it. So don't worry, make sure you tag, make sure you comment, make sure you say thank you. Talk about 2 or in Instagram people, I hope you are hearing. Make sure you also share 2 or 3 things that you learned from these powerful sessions. And, we look forward. Is this on IG? Yes, we're also on IG. It's not on IG yet. I'm going to put his link on IG after. I'm on IG live. So after, just give me like 1 hour. I'll put all the links up, and then you can go and link him. On that note, thank you very much, Ayo. I really sincerely appreciate it. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much.
Take care.
Thank you, everyone. And, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So guys, it's a wrap. But before we leave, we want to play our Ogaraya video for those of you that have not seen it, and for those of you that have not gone to like it on Instagram. And if you're an active learner on our programs, guys, make sure if you want to do your own Ogaraya video as well and tag us, we're happy for you to do that. I'll be happy. We'll be so happy. While we goodbye. Bye.
Butterflies in my tummy when the money enter me, I like it. Getting rich and it's all in the plan, my mind made it to Forbes. I buy jama for my baby, mo touch mommy, mo turale. Soft living like a superstar. All I do is winning till no more loss. See my diet, you me call. I feel like what's the rush? Can I waiting this up? Me not see no evil and I fear no one. I do the sign of the cross. For you, the me don't be done. Since I know this same of God. I'm on a new level, Papa. I put it all on God. So when you see me smile, my brother, you for just show me love. Vivendo la vida loca. Nobody take my joy. Better make way when you see your Ogaraya. Easy money. Ogaraya. Too much money. Ogaraya. Easy money. Ogaraya.
yeah, our new programs have launched. Tell your friends, tell anyone that's interested.